This week's Great Investor searches the world for high-quality companies selling at deep discounts to their intrinsic values. He is David Winters, named by Smart Money Magazine as one of the world's 5 greatest investors in 2008. Winters, who built up an impressive track record at Franklin Mutual Advisors, struck out on his own in 2005 to launch the Wintergreen Fund, which brings a hedge fund's go anywhere, invest in anything flexibility to mutual fund customers. Wintergreen, which is up around 30% this year, suffered an uncharacteristic, jaw-dropping 39% loss in 2008, buying when others were fleeing.
We were a net buyer, and we started too early because, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
So, in June we started buying, as the world sort of seemed to end, September, October, we kept buying. And everything we bought, everything we owned kept going down. And we kept waving it in. You'd buy, drop, buy, drop. And we were able to buy some phenomenal bargains, but every day they seemed to get to be bigger bargains.
Right.
And you don't know when it's going to end. I think the lessons are, you got to stick to your knitting. You got to really do the work. And that things sometimes get very irrational.
So the kinds of companies that you were buying last year, and just tell us a few of the names. I know Coca-Cola was one of them, for instance. What were some of the others?
Well, we bought things like, Nestle, Coca-Cola. We added to things like, Berkshire Hathaway, which are well known. We bought, more names in Switzerland like Richemont, which is the, really owns Cartier. We added to a lot of sort of very high-quality names. We bought a gas play in Canada called Birchcliff that we think is very undervalued. So we really went on a global treasure hunt. And, we bought Goldman Sachs. That was another example. And that was one we bought. It went down, And, we liked what they were saying, which was, we do mark-to-market accounting. And the reality is Goldman needed money as well, but they're fine. The thought process was that there were going to be some winners that came out of this. And we felt that Goldman would be one of the big winners. And then there's companies in Asia. We owned shares in a company called Jardine Matheson, which is a conglomerate that, has got a great long-term record and was very cheap. And so we think there's lots to do.
So let me ask you about a company that you told me about that really intrigues me, that I think gives a great insight into the way David Winters works, and that's a company called Schindler.
Yes.
So tell us about Schindler.
Schindler is a Swiss company, and we like Switzerland. It's a very conservative place. But Schindler makes elevators and escalators, and it's got a balance sheet with a lot of cash. So we love cash, and they generate more cash. And a big part of the business is maintenance and upgrades. And so, and they've grown all over the world, and they make great products. And so when you think about it, the world is becoming more urban. And a lot of the elevators and escalators at the Olympics in China were Schindler products. And so, the world cannot live without elevators and escalators. And there's a very few number of these companies out there. And Schindler's a pure play.
So as far as individual investors, and because a lot of individual investors now have gone into mutual funds such as yours, because they can't do the work themselves. But there's probably nothing that can quite substitute for the feeling of owning a company and feeling like you're a business owner as well, and seeing a company thrive and do well. So are there any stocks like core holdings that you would advise for someone's child's portfolio or a grandchild's or?
I think individual investors have a huge advantage.
Mm-hmm. You do?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because it's their money.
Right.
And, you know, they don't have the quarterly pressures or the daily pressures. So, you know, like Nestle is a very reasonable thing. You know, recently, a friend of mine's wife asked me, well, what should I buy for my grandkids? And I said Nestle, and she instantly got it. Because it's chocolate bars, pet food, you know, and other things.
Right.
And they've got pricing power, nice yield, and they're working for the shareholders. I mean, Nestle would be an example. You can read the annual and understand it.
And certainly a kid can appreciate it and understand it as well.
Absolutely.